Hi guys, so today we're going to learn to graph with intercepts, specifically linear functions. So a linear function is a function where the graph is a line. Right? We see the word line in linear, and so a linear function is the function where the graph is a line. Okay? So we're going to graph using intercepts today. So we're going to graph using our x and our y intercepts. So an x-intercept is where the graph touches or intersects the x-axis. And when we write it as an ordered pair, it is written as a number, comma, 0. Our y-intercept is where the graph touches the y-axis. And for that, when we're writing it as an ordered pair, it is 0, comma, a number. So x-intercept touches or intersects the x-axis. It is written as this. So note the x is a number, the y is a 0. Our y-intercept, right, is the opposite. Our x is the one that's 0 and y is the number. Okay, so from a graph, we've done this before. We look for where the graph touches the axis, right? So here, our x-intercept, here's our x-axis. It touches it right here. This ordered pair is 3, comma, 0. The y-intercept, where does it touch the y-axis? That is right here. And that is at 0, comma, 2. And so I'm going to have you try the next one. Where is the x and the y intercept? Okay, so the x-intercept is here at 8, comma, 0, and the y-intercept is here at 0, comma, negative 5. Okay, so that's how we find it from a graph. When we look for it in a table, we're going to look for x-intercept. We're going to look for where y is equal to 0. Right? We saw that earlier, x-intercept number, comma, 0. 0 here is in the y position. And for y-intercept, our x is where it is 0. Okay, so x-intercept, here's our table. We're going to look for where y is equal to 0. So here, this is where y is equal to 0. So this here is my x-intercept, right? 3, comma, 0. My y-intercept, I'm going to look for where x is 0. So here in my x column, 0 right here. So my x-intercept is 0, comma, 2. So I'm going to have you try the next one on your own. Where is the x and the y-intercept? Okay, so here we go. X-intercept is at 4, comma, 0. Right? Where y equals 0. Y-intercept is at 0, comma, negative 4, where x equals 0. So what about if it's from an equation? So when we're given an equation, we're going to find the x-intercept by plugging in 0 for the y, right? So y is equal to 0. So plug in 0 for y, and we're going to solve for x. When it's a y-intercept, we're going to plug in 0 for x, right? X equal to 0. And this time we're going to solve for y. So let's get started. So here we have an equation, 2x plus 3y equals 12. This is known as the standard form of a line. Okay, so I'm going to start by finding my x-intercept. I'm going to plug in 0 for y here. So 2x plus 3. I'm going to replace y with 0. Okay, and I'm going to solve. So 3 times 0 is 0, so 2x plus 0 equals 12. 2x plus 0 is just 2x. Right? I'm going to get rid of that 2 that's being multiplied to x by dividing by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1, so 1x equals 12 divided by 2 is 6. So my x-intercept is at 6, because x equals 6, And I plugged in 0 for y to solve for this. So 0 for y. So here is my x-intercept at 6, 0. Okay. Y-intercept, I'm going to plug in 0 for x and solve for y. So I'm going to plug in 0 here for the x, and I'm going to solve for what this y would be. Okay, 2 times 0 is 0. 0 plus 3y is 3y. Okay. And then because this is 3 times y, I'm going to get rid of it by dividing by 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1, so 1y. 12 divided by 3 is 4, so y equals 4. X, I plugged in 0 for that x to solve for, and the y I solved for is 4. Okay. And so here is the y-intercept. Okay. I'm going to have you try this next one on your own. Find the x and the y-intercept. Okay, so here's what you should have gotten. For the x-intercept, you plug in 0 for the y, okay, and you solve. You would have ended up with x equals 8, so your x-intercept is 8, 0, because you plugged in 0 for the y. Okay. For the y-intercept, you're plugging in 0 for x, and you're solving, you get y equals negative 20. So since x is 0, 0, the y we just got, negative 20, 0, negative 20. Okay. So we're going to use this to help us graph a line now. Okay, so let's flip on over. So when we graph using intercepts, when we graph any line, all we need is 2 points. So how many points do we need to graph a line? 2. You're going to see this again in geometry. It's one of our axioms, right? Between any 2 points, there is a line. Okay? One way to find these 2 points, we just tried it, is by using the x and the y-intercept. Okay? So I'm going to get started with this equation. So here I have negative 2x plus 4y equals 16. I'm going to find the x-intercept first. So x-intercept, I plug in 0 for y. So negative 2x plus 4 times 0 equals 16. This ends up being 0, so I have negative 2x equals 16. And then I'm going to divide by negative 2. I get x equals negative 8. So my x-intercept is at negative 8, 0. My y-intercept, I'm going to plug in 0 for x. So negative 2 times 0 plus 4y equals 16. Okay, negative 2 times 0 is 0. 0 plus 4y equals 16. 0 plus 4y is 4y. Okay, and then when I divide both sides by 4, I end up with y equals 4. And so my y-intercept is at 0, 4. Then all I have to do is graph those 2 points. So negative 8, 0 is right here. 0, 4 is right here. And then all I have to do is connect those dots, and I have a line. And now I've graphed my line. Nice and easy. Okay, so let's try the next one here. So I'm going to find my x-intercept first. Okay, so x-intercept is when we plug in 0 for y. So x minus 0 equals 3, and we're going to solve for x. So x minus 0 is just x. X equals 3. So my x-intercept is at 3, 0. Okay. Then I'm going to find my y-intercept. Okay, so y-intercept, we plug in 0 for x, and we solve for what y would be. Okay, 0 minus y is negative y. Okay, so again, this is a negative 1y, so I get rid of that times negative 1 by dividing by negative 1. That gives me y equals negative 3. And so my y-intercept is at 0, negative 3. I'm going to graph those 2 points. So x-intercept at 3, 0, y-intercept at 0, negative 3. Okay, so here's my x-intercept that I solved for. Here's the y-intercept that I solved for. I'm going to connect those dots. And there I have my line. Okay, I'm going to have you try this one on your own. Find the x-intercept and y-intercept, graph them, and connect the dots. Okay, so here you go. To find your x-intercept, you're going to plug in 0 for the y position. Okay, and then when you solve, you get x equals 3. So x-intercept is here at 3, 0. Okay, to find our y-intercept, you're going to plug in 0 for x and solve for y. When you do that, you get y equals -9. So the y-intercept is at 0, -9. That's right here. All I have to do is connect the dots, and linear functions go in both directions forever, so that's why you see there's arrows at the end. Okay, that's it for today. Have a great rest of the day. Bye, guys.